Hey gang, Sean here from the Commander's Brew. You know us. We're going to bring you a wild new deck tech, and this week is no different. We've got Lier, Disciple of the Drowned, a new legendary creature from Midnight Hunt. We're going to do some interesting things because we can't counter spells. Let's get to it.
Okay, here we go. Liar? Is it liar? It's not spelled like
Lier.
liar. Lier.
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 Lier. I like liar.
I love liar. I love liar slightly misspelled. I think it's very funny.
Yeah, I mean, who cares? What's spelling anyway in fictional names?
I used to have a friend who used to post this picture of. It was like one of those gravestones that's just on, like in the ground, like it's not like poking.
Oh
up.
yeah,
and
yeah.
It was a person with this last name Lier. So it just said that. It said like liar, and
Yeah.
and she would post it whenever someone was like it was to be like liar, but it was just that. For some reason, I thought it was so funny because it's spelled wrong. Great.
Now you can post this magic card whenever you want to call someone out. This is what we're brewing around Lier. Disciple of the Drowned, mono blue. We don't do a ton of mono commanders. It takes a lot for a monocolored commander to kind of get the creative juices going, because so rarely does a monocolored commander do anything we haven't seen before. Well, certainly maybe a bit even worse than we've seen before, but Lier's interesting. Lier's different.
Yep, true.
Lier, Disciple of the Drowned, 3 blue, legendary human wizard, 3/4, spells can't be countered. Period.
Cool.
In addition, each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard has flashback, and the flashback cost is equal to that card's mana cost. So, blue is always thinking about counterspells. Blue wakes up, counterspells on their mind. Blues, going to work, think about counterspells. It gets a quick break at work, counterspells. Half of Blue's bookmarks on their web browser are, sites to go to different counterspells.
If you look down at Blue when they're talking on the phone and they got a piece of paper in front of them and they're holding a pen in their hand, they're doodling all counterspells, all kinds of different counterspells.
Doodling counterspells all over the notebook. But then But this is what Lier forces us to do as brewers. What do you do? Imagine if you were Blue. Put yourself in Blue's shoes. Imagine the amount of productivity, the amount of extra time, of extra things you could do in your deck if you're not think about counterspells the whole time. It's the sky's the limit. The sky's the limit.
A lot of your day is freed up if you're not, right?
So much of it.
Be thinking about all kinds of different things. You can be a little more productive at work, perhaps. Your break, you could plan for the later in the day. You can do all kinds of stuff.
Oh, you're getting up a little bit earlier. You're in a better mood. You're nicer to people.
That's right. You're not stopping people from doing stuff or thinking about stopping them.
Yeah. So I mean that's the deck, right? So when we got down to it, we really are doing everything. You can kind of track the design of this card. I actually don't know what came first. I'm sure my guess is someone's like, hey, what about a commander that gives everything in your graveyard flashback? And they're like, that's cool. We should make that commander. And they probably penciled out a little draft and like, oh, wait a minute. This is brutal because you're only going to counter everything and you will always have access to 50 counter spells because your whole graveyard's full of counter spells. That doesn't work. And they're like, well, then can we just say spells can't be countered? I'm like, okay, let's give that a shot. And what a wonderful commander. I feel like that's the evolution of this commander. That's how we got this commander. And the brewing happened in a similar way. It just kind of all unfolded naturally in stages, and we'll walk you through it. We'll start you with sort of the vegetables, kind of the basics. It's not difficult to connect the dots that if we have flashback on every instant and sorcery in our graveyard, then we're going to want to do some self-milling. So, Andy, walk us through some of our key easy self-mill pieces.
Tome Scour, number one thing for doing this. Single blue for a sorcery. Target player puts the top 5 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. If you have Lier out, that's 10 cards for 2 blue mana. That's incredible. That's great.
That's incredible.
That's a large graveyard pretty quickly. Now, obviously, we're not talking about doing this on turn 1. Well, you could do this on turn 1, but then obviously the flashback has to happen a bit later. But that's great. That's fine, right? That seems quite good. Vision Charm, a single blue, again for an instant this time. This one says choose one. Target player mills 4 cards. Choose a land type and a basic land type. Each land of the first chosen type becomes a second chosen type until end of turn. Okay. And target artifact phases out. How old is this card, I wonder? Pretty old.
It's pretty old. It's from
pretty old.
Visions.
Yeah, single, but this is very similar to Tome Scour. Obviously, except it's 8 cards for the 2 blue mana, right?
It mills 1 fewer, but you can turn a land type into another on a land type. So there's a world where, I mean, I know we're not countering spells, but like on someone's upkeep, you can be like, hey, you know what? I just want real quick on your upkeep, all your forests are something you don't have in your deck anymore. So you could just take a color away from a player for a turn if need be.
That's true.
So, I mean, this card has use outside of milling. And maybe even phasing an artifact is just like, well, I don't know, like maybe I need you've got an oppressive, I don't know, maybe there's some artifact that's just bringing everybody down. Well, phase it out.
Phase it out for now.
Yeah.
Yeah, for a bit here. And then we also have Thought Scour here, which is another single blue instant where the target player only mills 2 cards. However, you also draw a card. So that's pretty nice. 2 mana, mill 4, draw 2. Yeah. We'll take it. Not bad. I'm into it. There's your flashback coming in very, very strong on there. And then we also have Mental Note. Similar vibe, single blue. Put the top 2 cards of your library in your graveyard, draw a card. Yeah, it's basically the same. That's the exact same.
Functionally identical. Yeah.
Weird.
Well, I think the difference is that you can choose a player for Thought Scour, but for Mental Note, it has to be you.
Yes, you're right.
I mean, it's going to be us anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Also, the guy in Mental Note is obviously the guy in Thought Scour's dad.
Yep.
And they're both Screaming Bald guys, though. Don't forget about it. I think both of these were in the Screaming Bald guys deck.
Probably.
Yeah, anyways.
So, I mean, there you go. Like, all of those are a single mana also. So we can, and I think, are they all, except for Tome Scour, they're all instant. So we can do it on other turns. Having some 1 mana spells is extremely useful with Lier because once your graveyard starts filling up, you're like, well, I've got an extra 2 mana. I might as well do something. Heck, I'll mill myself for another 6 or 5 or whatever I can cobble together out of these like single blue things here. You can mill a ton before Lier arrives, and then once Lier hits the battlefield, you can mill so much more. But that's not all we're doing. We're obviously doing some things that are neat, and that's why we put them in Neat Myths. Working on a neat moves. We're just going to take a second to handle a little bit of business. And the main point is, thanks for watching. If you want to see more of our comedic takes and offbeat decks, consider subscribing to our channel and hitting that bell to make sure you don't miss anything. And if you're loving our stuff and want to support further, the best way is to head over to patreon.com/commandersbrew. Find out how our generous patrons keep our show growing and how you can get in on the brewing action too through our Discord. Or, if you'd rather, just hang out and play some games with like-minded Commander players. Now, let's get back to those entertaining moves. So, we're walking through the just the logical conclusion, right? Self-mill is a thing. I'm going to give you a couple more self-mill cards that are a little bit fancier. Increasing Confusion, blue X sorcery. Target player puts the mills X cards, and it's got flashback for X blue. This is a rare card where the flashback is identical to the regular casting cost. So Lier doesn't change anything on this, but if you cast this from your graveyard, that player mills twice X. So you can get a lot milled with this once and then again. This is great for that. This is a personal favorite, Epiphany at the Drown Yard. X blue for an instant. Reveal the top X cards, +1. Separate them into 2 piles. An opponent chooses one of those piles. That pile goes into your hand, and the other pile goes into your graveyard. We don't care. Like, just put everything in one pile. It all goes to the graveyard. That's our hand. It doesn't matter. This is an instant, so we can do this on end step and just mill ourselves for a ton more. It's not literally mill, but we can, keep a couple key pieces we want. Fantastic card to do. And of course, what blue deck doesn't want? Ancestral Recall. Single blue, instant, target player draws 3 cards.
Hey, sorry, hang on.
What do you mean?
This one is actually banned in the format.
Oh, Ancestral. Oh, no. Okay, so we've got the wrong art up. We actually need the Visions of Beyond art up.
Right.
Which is... right.
Right.
It's a single blue instant, draw a card, but if a graveyard has 20 or more cards on it, draw 3 cards instead. That's going to be us all the time. So, this is Ancestral Recall in this deck very fast. This becomes Ancestral Recall very early.
This is incredible. This is great. I love this.
If you mill it, it's if it hits the graveyard while you're doing your shenanigans, it's for sure Ancestral Recall.
Yeah, that's true. I love it.
Yeah, so that's kind of the extra milli kind of stuff. But that doesn't bring us to what we're actually doing. There's so many ways to go at this point. But there's something in common. There's something we can do that becomes extra good with Lier, and that is getting rid of the cards we don't want out of our graveyard. Andy, walk us through this set of cards.
Okay. Well, first, Delve is a great way to do that. So Treasure Cruise is here. 7 and a blue with Delve, meaning you exile a card from your graveyard while casting the spell, and it pays for 1 generic of the cost. So, you exile 7 cards from your graveyard, and then this thing only costs a single blue. And it lets us draw 3 cards. So speaking of Ancestral Recall, you get yet another one.
Yeah,
this very powerful card. But yeah, that's true, not instant. And banned in a couple formats as well.
So many formats.
Yeah, but here we are. Modern, Legacy, Pauper, forget it. Still a great card. I'm surprised at how I never see Treasure Cruise, but I always include it in these kind of instant and sorcery builds. It's really good. It's still really good. Rite of Undoing is here too. 4 and a blue, another Delver. Return target non-land permanent you control and target non-land permanent you don't control to their owner's hands. We can get a little bounce action going, replace something good for us, and bring back something expensive that they don't want to recast. It's great. And then we have False Memories, also 1 and a blue. It says it's an instant that says put the top 7 cards of your library in your graveyard, and then at end of turn remove 7 cards in your graveyard from the game. Interesting. Yeah, go ahead.
It's a mill 7 for 2, but you've got to get rid of 7 afterwards. But if we do this a little bit late, we can just chew through lands.
Yeah, I was gonna say get rid of a bunch of lands.
Extra mana rocks we don't need anymore. The occasional enchantment that we won't be able to cast from our graveyard with Lier. Treasure Cruise, Rite of Undoing, they've all got Delve. So we could surgically remove our choice of up to 20 or 30 cards from our graveyard. And we can only make our graveyard just the sweetest, tenderest meat, just no fat whatsoever in there. And then we get to run something like Learn from the Past. 3 and a blue. It's an instant. Target player shuffles their graveyard into their library, draw a card. This is an instant speed way to shuffle the whole graveyard back. We do want something like this because one of the ways this deck gets just kneecapped is if you just drop a Bojuka Bog, and then we're just oh, okay. but we can do this at instant speed. So, and we've got enough instants sitting around in the graveyard that we have the ability to do most of our self-mill, a lot of our stuff at the last end step. So we can hold up some of this mana, even though we're not countering spells with it. So this is a good way to save your graveyard. And if we've done our delving homework, if we've done everything right, the stuff we're shuffling back in should be pure gasoline.
Yeah, go ahead.
But what are we doing?
Yeah, what I was going to say.
This isn't anything yet. What are we doing? So the next logical conclusion is that we are casting boatloads of spells for a single blue, once going into the graveyard and once coming out of the graveyard. So of course, let's focus on like our pals, Talran, Sky Summoner, 2 blue, 2/2. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, make a 2/2 blue Drake creature token with flying. Or how about Docent of Perfection, 3 blue, insect horror, 5/4 with flying. When you cast instants and sorceries, make a little 1/1 blue human wizard token. But this transforms into the 6/5 flying that makes wizards +2/+1 and have flying, which makes all your little 1/1 wizards little delvers of secrets. And you're still making them as you cast spells. This is final iteration.
So the name of this creature is Final Iteration.
Lier is a wizard, so Lier with Docent of Perfection will get +2/+1 in flying. So that's not nothing.
Sorry, Lier with Final Iteration will get +2/+1 in
yes.
flying.
yes. So there you go. Like that's kind of the heart of what we're doing. We can just flood the board with tokens very quickly and very easily because we've got so many of these single mana spells that do little things, and if we don't have what we need, we can, I haven't gone into it, but we've got lots of little ways to draw cards here or there as well to keep that train going. But then what, Andy? What next?
Polymorph.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Polymorph, 3 blue, sorcery, destroy target creature. It can't be regenerated. Its controller reveals cards from the top of his or her library until they reveal a creature card. The player puts that card onto the battlefield, then shuffles all other cards revealed this way into their library.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
we only have creatures that make tokens.
Yeah. So we only have creatures that make tokens. So kill a token, get a creature that makes tokens.
Yeah.
Doing the same thing. Get a Docent. Get a Talran. Get
I forgot to there's a few more there. We the one that makes fractals the size of the spell you just cast.
Yeah,
I didn't name them. And then there's the one that make
there's one that makes spirits, I think.
Yeah, it makes 1/1 illusions.
That's what
flyers. Yeah. I didn't put it up here, but reweave. I forgot to put it in the notes.
Oh yeah, I saw it there. I thought you just meant like reweave it in.
Reweave is a 5 and a blue instant arcane. The arcane doesn't matter. Target permanence controller sacrifices it. It's polymorph for a permanent, but it has to share a permanent type.
Wow.
We only want it for creatures. Surprisingly, there are very few ways to do this that singly target a creature in mono blue. There's a couple of ways that do your whole team, but we don't want to do the whole team because we don't have enough creatures to do that. Like if we did that, we would end up with an empty board with one more token maker. And we're like, wow, that sucks. So really it's reweave, polymorph proper, and Proteus staff. Those are the only ways to do it in mono blue.
You know what's an okay. It's let me check and see if I'm no, okay, I'm not. So when I was looking at when I was doing the polymorph thing, or when I was looking at it for one of the lost cards that we were doing, it's so funny that you, with our Discord, eventually made the polymorph deck, because that's what I was talking about doing with a previous deck. There's like polymorphs. There's another mass polymorph, I think it is.
Yeah.
Where it turns all the creatures into one creature. Is that in here? Because
mass polymorph, it turns them all into new creature cards. I think it doesn't make copies.
No,
mass
it doesn't do it doesn't do the polymorph thing like regular polymorph. It's weird. Let's look it up in the middle of the episode here.
Sure, mass polymorph. Yeah. Exile all creatures you control. It exiles and doesn't destroy. That's a difference. Then reveal until you reveal that many creature cards.
There's a different one. What's the one with Strive? Anyways, so the one with Strive, I'm pretty sure the way it works is it, instead of doing the polymorph thing, it just turns all of your creatures into one creature.
Polymorphous Rush.
That's it. Polymorphous. That's it.
Yeah.
Or
I mean, that's...
You Strive it, whatever. Anyway, so Strive, it's not as good. I thought it was just mass, so I thought it was just everything. Because if it was everything, and you change them all into like docents of perfection or whatever, and then you played one spell, it's like, whoa, then you get like so many. That'd be awesome.
That would be awesome. We could do that. We certainly could. There was that one from Kaldheim where the next creature that enters as a copy of something. Although we can't turn everything into it. Anyways, the other way to do this that I didn't mention is the Lier, the creature, but I don't want another creature that doesn't make tokens, so I'm not including that.
Right on.
There are very few non-creature ways to do this in mono blue. I was surprised. I was like, surely this effect appears a bunch of times. Like, no, 3.
It feels like it should be a Simic only thing, but
well, red has a few. Like if you add red, you get a handful more, but that's it.
Right.
So we've got this huge board. We got to win, right? And if we don't have enough to attack with, we can walk the Aeons, which is 4 blue sorcery, buy back, sacrifice 3 islands. Target player takes an extra turn after this one. We can just take an extra turn. Maybe we just made all these tokens and we're like, well, they all have summoning sickness. They can't attack this turn. Let's just take another turn and attack then.
6 mana, sacrifice 3 islands, give your creatures haste. Draw a card.
Unfortunately, if you cast this via flashback with Lier, you can't buy it back as well.
Right.
Because the flashback will win and will pull it into exile as part of its resolution, and it will not go back to your hand. Unfortunately. We tried. We worked hard to figure out a way to get something to be flashbacked but come back to your hand so that we could take infinite turns. That's what we wanted to do. But you just can't. There aren't that many spells that take extra turns that don't exile themselves anyway.
Right.
But at least this one we can. So if we can buy it back, if we've got tons of islands out, we can buy it back and then cast it again and let it go to the graveyard and then flash it back from the graveyard. So we can get 2 or 3 extra turns this way if we've got enough mana.
Usually that's enough though, right? Like that's the thing about these cards is that like, yeah, you want to go to the moon with them and obviously infinite turns means you just win, but usually like 2, 3, 4 extra turns is enough to give you the win.
Truly. Now I know some of you out there might be asking, what if I mill all my win conditions? What if I mill all those creatures? What then? What then, Andy?
What then? What if we bin our good stuff? Well, you got in these types of decks, you got to have a Jace Wielder of Mysteries. 1 blue, Planeswalker, 4 loyalty. If you would draw a card while your library has no cards in it, you win the game instead. Just go hard into mill. Just mill yourself to death for the win. The +1 on Jace is also target player puts the top 2 cards of their library into their graveyard, draw a card. That's great. And then the -8 is draw 7 cards. Then, if your library has no cards in it, you win the game. So yeah, this is a staple in any kind of self-milling deck here. What else do we have? We also have Stream of Thought. Oh, this is fun. Stream of Thought, single blue sorcery. Target player puts the top 4 cards of their library into their graveyard. Shuffle up to 4 cards from your graveyard into your library. Replicate. When you cast a spell, copy it for each time you paid its replicate cost. You may choose new targets for the copies. So
we're probably never going to replicate, but this is a mill 4.
But yeah, it's a mill 4, and then you can just toss the creatures back in, right?
You can just toss the creatures back in, or toss that time, walk the Eons back in if you want to like flash it back, or if you're just like, ugh, Jace is in the, I got to get my Jace back out. There are ways to get yourself. It's very fun in testing. This is the funnest part of the deck, is when you're like, ooh. I got like 3 cards left. Can I do it? Can I mill them all, put a Jace out, and then flashback something that says draw a card. Like can I use Stream of Thought? Like I got to mill 3 first, because you can mill too much. If you mill more than you have, the game doesn't care. It's when you try to draw. That's when you die.
Exactly, yeah.
So mill down to 0, Stream of Thought, the like 1 card, the Jace. Then you got to like draw that, cast it, and then Jace's ability will win you the game once you activate it.
Nice.
It's very fun. And then Stream of Consciousness is another similar way to do that. Wait, this is Arcane. We can splice onto Arcane with this. 1 and a blue, instant, target player shuffles up to 4 target cards from their graveyard into their library. This is one of the few cards that doesn't really do anything. It's just like an emergency button for us.
Right on.
Unfortunately, but it's in there just in case.
Right on. Great.
Fun.
A lot of fun.
This deck was fun.
Yeah,
look at how much blue can do when you're not worried about countering spells.
Look at all the stuff. You're taking extra turns. You're making a ton of creatures. Like, basically, blue just gets to do all of the stuff that all the other colors do. Basically,
who knew?
Filling up the graveyard, casting things from the graveyard. Unreal.
All we had to do was stop. Imagine now. I hope they print a green commander that doesn't let you ramp, just to see what the possibilities in green are.
If you're not, green's not thinking about lands. What, they could do so much more. All right. Well, very fun deck. I love it. Right when we saw it, it was like, wait, blue, no counters. Let's go.
Right? We got to try it. And we got to thank our Discord helpers. I can't thank them enough. We went real deep on we worked hard to break some of these strategies. We'll highlight a couple of interesting things in Lost Cards. Stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, I have to thank Micah, Eternity's Crafter, Doomfrog, Chiefy, Reclusive Artificer, Groove Chicken, Nosrak 2, Jason Belt, Demir Buffalo, Knucklebooper, The Wizard Cops, HP Jones 10, and Too Much Dew. Thank you for helping with this brew.
Well, we've thanked our Discord helpers. That means it's time for the budget report. All right. Well, tell us where we landed with this one.
TCG mid, $142. It's pretty high for us.
Yeah. The
low, $71.
The low, $700.
Yeah, it's not messed up for me like it was for you. The most expensive card is actually way cheaper than I was expecting to talk about this in the too expensive cards. But Time Warp is $12 if you get the new Strixhaven special edition one, like the Mystical Archive version. Amazing. I think it was like 20 plus, maybe even more than that. But like $12 is like, all right, that's fair. This is key because it's an extra turn spell that doesn't exile itself. It's just plain Jane, target player takes an extra turn. We can flash it back, no problem.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Proteus Staff is in this deck. It's the 3-mana artifact that has a novel on it. 2 and a blue, tap it. Put target creature on the bottom of its owner's library. That creature's controller reveals cards from the top of their library until they reveal a creature card. The player puts that card onto the battlefield and the rest of the on the bottom of their library in any order. Activate only as a sorcery. It's Polymorph.
Yeah, this is the other way to do it in mono blue. I think it's expensive because it's repeatable, and I'm sure some of its value comes from the fact that you can do this to other players. Like if you're facing off a control-y deck with very few creatures, you can probably do some real damage with this, and just it becomes exile creatures, or go to the bottom of the library.
Yeah, go to the bottom of the library. This gets rid of like, what's the big indestructible 2020 token that comes from the land?
Oh, Blightsteel?
No, not Blightsteel.
Merit Lage.
Merit Lage, yeah. This just ruins Merit Lage.
Ruins.
Anyways, this is just Proteus Staff. It's Polymorph Staff, yeah.
Yeah, and the third most expensive card is Ancestral Recall. Okay. $1,099.
Yeah, no, it's...
Oh, you mean Visions of Beyond, right? Visions of Beyond is $10.
Wow,
because it's Ancestral Recall, right?
Ancestral Recall, yeah.
It should be
for the decks that want it. It is Ancestral Recall, truly.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't play at turn 1. Let's be honest. How are you going to mill
true.
20 cards from turn 1? That's,
That's true. That's true.
But so many times you don't do that with Ancestral. Anyways, what about the little budget baby?
Budget babies. I'm going to talk about Insidious Will. This is 2 blue.
Yes.
It's an instant. And you choose
Hold
one.
on.
Counter target spell.
Wait a second.
Lier doesn't let you do that, but there's 2 other things we can do.
Right.
We can choose new targets for target spell. So if it's a kill spell on Lier, be like, no. That kill spell's coming back at you, my friend. And it does work from the graveyard with flashback if we want. Your opponents have to stare at this in your graveyard and just be like, well, I can't target Lier with a kill spell because you'll just turn it around. You can also copy target instant or sorcery and choose new targets. So if it's killing someone else's creature, you can double up on it. If someone's got a big ramp going on, you can do that. Heck, you can copy one of your time extra turn spells if you cast it from your graveyard. You can, because let's copy them. Let's take more extra turns. I'll do it.
This is one of my favorite counter spells.
Yeah. What is it? It's 50 cents. 2 gumballs.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, and 4 is not too much in Commander, where you're a lot of times just holding up that mana for if you're in that type of deck anyways, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the additional things make it so good.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Fun.
Very fun. Love the deck.
Fun deck.
Check it out.
You're always doing stuff. Like, that's what's so fun. You're always like, I got a couple mana. What can I do? Oh, I'll mill a few and draw a couple. Like, no mana goes unspent.
If you want to grab this deck, hey, always, if you're in the States, check out TCG. Check out the link in the description, the notes and everything. You can follow it. Purchase the cards there. We get a little slice of that. That's great. And then, of course, if you're in Canada, check out Wizard's Tower. But hey, we'll be back next week with more deck techs, more lost cards, all the good stuff. And yeah, speaking of lost cards, stick around the channel for that. I'm sure you'll see it coming soon. Okay, bye.
Thanks for watching. If you love what we're doing, consider supporting the show by going to patreon.com/commandersbrew.
And if you want to get any of the cards from our deck list, go to our TCG Player affiliate link below.
That helps us out too. And for a free way to help us out, consider sharing the show with some friends. Like and subscribe, add a comment or 2.
See you later.
Bye.